The flashlight beam cut through the blizzard, and Cole Harrison's heart stopped dead. A woman lay face down in the snow, her hands bound behind her back. Her lips blue, her police badge frozen to her chest. Blood pooled beneath her like a dark halo. Beside her, a German shepherd whimpered through ropes slicing into its flesh. Its body curved protectively over hers, even as death crept closer. Above them, carved into a pine tree in jagged letters, was one word: traitor. Cole dropped to his knees. She had maybe 10 minutes to live. Her dog had less. And somewhere in the howling darkness behind him, headlights were coming to finish what the storm had started. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from. Subscribe now, and stay until the very end. This story will shake you to your core. Cole Harrison's hands were steady as he checked the storm shutters one last time. They had been steady when he pulled triggers in Fallujah, steady when he carried dying men through firefights in Syria, steady when he signed the papers that put him on medical leave. But his mind was not steady. His mind had not been steady in 14 months. Shadow padded up beside him, the Belgian Malinois, pressing his warm body against Cole's leg. The dog was 12 years old now, retired military with more combat deployments than most Special Forces operators. Cole's grandfather had adopted Shadow after his service ended. When the old man died 6 months ago, Cole inherited both the cabin and the dog. "Just you and me tonight, boy," Cole said quietly. "Storm's coming in hard." Shadow's ears rotated toward the tree line. A low sound rumbled in his chest. "Easy. It's just the wind." But Shadow didn't relax. The dog had survived IED ambushes and enemy contact across 3 countries. He knew the difference between wind and threat. Cole felt it too, that old familiar pressure behind his eyes, the instinct that had saved his life more times than he could count. He grabbed his flashlight. "Show me." Shadow moved immediately, not running, but stalking his body low, his attention fixed on something beyond the swirling snow. Cole followed his boots crunching through the fresh powder. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees in the last hour. Anyone caught outside in this would be dead before dawn. The beam of his flashlight cut through the white chaos. Pine trees, rock outcroppings, the familiar landmarks of his grandfather's property. Then Shadow stopped. The dog stood rigid, every muscle locked, staring at a dark shape half buried in a drift near the property line. Cole's heart rate didn't change. His breathing stayed even, but something cold and sharp settled in his gut. He moved closer. The shape became 2 shapes. The first was a woman. She lay on her side, her dark hair matted with ice, her face the color of ash. She wore tactical pants and a torn jacket. Her hands were bound behind her back with professional knots. Military knots. Cole knew those knots. He had been trained to tie them and to escape them. The second shape was a dog. A German shepherd bound the same way its body curved protectively around the woman, even in unconsciousness. Blood had frozen in a dark stain along its flank. "My God." Cole dropped to his knees. He pressed 2 fingers to the woman's neck. The pulse was there, barely a faint flutter against his skin. Her lips were blue. Her breathing was so shallow he could hardly see her chest move. Hypothermia. Advanced. Maybe 15 minutes from death. He looked at the German shepherd. The dog's eyes flickered open, glazed with pain and cold, and a weak growl vibrated through its body. Even dying, it was trying to protect its partner. "I'm here to help," Cole said softly. I'm going to get you both out." He pulled his knife from his boot sheath and carefully cut the ropes binding the dog's legs. The animal whimpered, but didn't resist. Then he moved to the woman, slicing through the thick cords around her wrists. The skin beneath was raw, bloody frozen. That's when he saw the badge. It was clipped to her belt, ice-covered, but unmistakable. Police detective. And beneath it, barely visible, a name tag. Reyes. He looked up, scanning the tree line. Old habits. Always check for secondary threats. That's when he saw the tree. A large pine, its bark scarred white. And carved into the wood, the letters fresh and jagged, was a single word. Traitor. Cole's jaw tightened. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was a message. An execution meant to be finished by the storm. Shadow let out a sharp bark. Cole's head snapped toward the road. Through the curtain of falling snow, he saw them. Headlights. 2 sets. Moving slowly up the mountain. Coming for them. "We need to move. Now!" He shed his heavy coat and wrapped it around the woman's torso. Then he gathered the German shepherd into his arms. The dog was heavy, 90 pounds of dead weight, but Cole had carried wounded men up mountains. He moved fast, his boots punching through snow that was already past his ankles. Shadow ran ahead, checking the path, circling back, a veteran operator clearing the route. Cole reached his truck and laid the shepherd across the back seat, covering it with a wool blanket. Then he turned and ran back into the storm. The woman hadn't moved. Snow was already beginning to bury her again. He lifted her gently, cradling her against his chest. She was lighter than the dog, but felt infinitely more fragile. A human life balanced on the edge of oblivion. "Hold on," he muttered. "Not tonight. You don't die tonight." He carried her to the truck and placed her beside her partner. Even unconscious, her hand found the dog's fur. Even at the edge of death, the bond held. Cole slammed the door and threw himself behind the wheel. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. Heat began to pour from the vents. In the rearview mirror, he saw the headlights reach the spot where he had found them. They stopped. Dark figures emerged. Cole didn't wait to see more. He put the truck in gear and drove into the storm. The cabin was small, but solid. Cole's grandfather had built it 60 years ago with his own hands, using timber from these mountains. The walls were thick logs, the fireplace was stone, and the generator was military surplus. Cole carried the woman inside first. He laid her on the couch near the fire and began stripping away her wet, frozen clothing. There was nothing inappropriate about it. This was triage. This was keeping a human being alive. Her body was covered in bruises, dark purple marks on her ribs, a deep cut on her forehead still seeping blood. Her right shoulder was dislocated, the joint sitting at an unnatural angle. She had been beaten. Badly. Professionally. The kind of beating designed to make someone talk. He covered her with every blanket he had, then went back for the dog. The German shepherd was in worse shape than he'd thought. The wound on its flank was a bullet graze, deep and angry. The cold had slowed the bleeding, but infection would set in fast without treatment. Cole had seen too many military working dogs die. He wasn't going to lose this one. He cleaned the wound with antiseptic, working carefully, talking softly. "You're okay, boy. You're going to be okay. Your partner needs you. You hear me? She needs you to fight." The dog's eyes opened. Dark, intelligent, filled with pain. But it didn't growl. It seemed to understand that Cole was trying to help. Shadow lay nearby, watchful. 2 old warriors recognizing each other. Cole bandaged the wound as best he could and positioned the shepherd on a thick rug near the fire. Its breathing was steadier now. Its eyes kept drifting toward the woman on the couch. That bond. That unbreakable bond. Cole knew it well. He had felt it with his own team, with the men who had died because he hadn't been fast enough. He pushed the thought away. The woman stirred, a soft moan, her eyelids fluttering. Then her eyes snapped open and she lunged upward, her good arm swinging in a wild, desperate strike. Cole caught her wrist gently. "Easy, easy. You're safe." Her eyes were wild, unfocused. She looked at him without seeing him. Then she looked around the cabin at the fire, at the unfamiliar walls, at the large man holding her arm. "Where?" Her voice was a broken rasp. "Where is... Your dog is right here. He's hurt, but he's alive. You're both alive." Her gaze found the German shepherd. The shepherd's head lifted and a weak tail wag thumped against the floor. "Ranger." She breathed the name like a prayer. "Oh God, Ranger." Tears streamed down her face. She tried to get up to go to him, but her body wouldn't cooperate. She collapsed back against the cushions, gasping in pain. "Your shoulder is dislocated," Cole said. "You've got broken ribs, maybe internal injuries. You need to stay still." "Who are you?" She was looking at him now, really looking, taking in his size, his bearing, the calm efficiency in his movements. "How did you find us?" "My dog found you. I just followed." Cole nodded toward Shadow. "I'm Cole Harrison. This is my cabin. You've been unconscious for about 2 hours." 2 hours. She processed this. "The storm..." "Still going. We're not going anywhere tonight." Her jaw tightened. "They'll come. They know I'm still alive. They'll come to finish it." "Who are they?" She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the fear had been replaced by something harder, something that told Cole this woman was not a victim. She was a fighter. "My name is Maya Reyes. I'm a detective with the Pine Valley Police Department, Narcotics Division." She paused the words, seeming to cost her. "I've been working undercover for 14 months, infiltrating a trafficking operation that runs drugs through the national forest." Cole listened without interrupting. This was not his world. But war was war, regardless of the battlefield. "I had everything," Maya continued. "Names, dates, routes, evidence that would bring down the entire network." Her voice cracked. "And then they knew. Somehow they knew exactly what I had, and when I would be vulnerable." A leak. Yes, the word was bitter. Someone inside the department. Someone with access to undercover files. "Your partner?" "No." The response was immediate, fierce. "Ranger would die for me. He almost did." She looked at the dog, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "They shot him right in front of me, to make me talk. When I wouldn't give them the information they wanted, they decided to let the mountain do the rest." Shadow moved closer to Ranger, lying down beside the injured shepherd. 2 dogs, 2 warriors sharing warmth. "There's something else," Maya said. Her voice had dropped to barely a whisper. "Something I haven't told you." Cole waited. "They have my daughter." The words hit like a physical blow. "They took Lily from school yesterday. My handler at the department, the man I reported to, the man I trusted." Her voice broke completely. "He's the one who gave them my identity, and he's using my daughter to make sure I stay silent." "Who is he?" "Deputy Chief Victor Marsh." Cole absorbed this. A high-ranking police official. Corruption at the command level. A child being held as leverage. "How old is your daughter?" 7. Maya's hand went to her chest, clutching something beneath the blankets. Cole saw it was a small photograph in a cracked plastic frame. A little girl with dark curls and a gap-toothed smile. "Her name is Lily. She's only 7 years old, And she's with monsters because I thought I could make a difference." The guilt in her voice was devastating. Cole recognized it. He carried the same weight. "You didn't do this to her. They did. I should have known. I should have seen the signs. Marsh was too helpful. Too interested in my progress. I thought he was invested in the case. I didn't realize he was invested in making sure it never went to trial." Cole moved to the window, looking out at the swirling white darkness. The headlights he'd seen were gone, but he knew they would return. Men who left witnesses to die didn't give up easily. "The men who came for you. How many?" "4 at the ambush. But there are more. The organization is called the Mountain Syndicate. They've been running fentanyl through these mountains for years. Millions of dollars worth." Maya's voice grew stronger, the detective emerging from the wounded woman. "They use abandoned mines as processing facilities. They use children as mules, and they have law enforcement protection at every level. Including the deputy chief. Including the deputy chief." Maya pushed herself into a sitting position, wincing. "When I tried to contact the FBI, my communications were intercepted. When I tried to reach federal prosecutors, my files disappeared. Marsh has been covering their tracks for years. He's made sure that every investigation dies before it can grow." "But you have evidence." "I had evidence, on an encrypted phone they took from me." She paused. "But I also have this." She reached into the inner pocket of the jacket Cole had cut away and pulled out a small USB drive, sealed in waterproof plastic. "Back up," she said. "Everything. Names, account numbers, shipping schedules, the location where they're holding the children they use as mules." Her hand trembled. "And the location where they might be holding my daughter." Cole looked at the drive. Such a small thing. Such enormous power. Why didn't they find it? Because I swallowed it when they grabbed me. I retrieved it when they left me for dead. A grim smile touched her cracked lips. They thought I was unconscious. They were wrong. The woman had guts. Cole had worked with operators who didn't have half her determination. "There's a laptop in my gear bag," he said. "Military encrypted. Offline. We can see what's on that drive." "Not yet." Maya's voice was urgent. "They're listening. Every electronic device in this area could be compromised. If we access that drive and they detect the signature, they'll know exactly where we are." "Yes." Cole nodded slowly. "Then we need a different plan." Before Maya could respond, Ranger's head snapped up. A growl rumbled through the injured dog's body. Shadow rose to his feet, his stance rigid, his attention fixed on the back of the cabin. Both dogs were alerting. Cole moved without sound, retrieving a shotgun from beside the fireplace. He chambered around and positioned himself near the back window. "What is it?" Maya whispered. Cole didn't answer. He was listening. Beyond the howl of the wind, beyond the crackle of the fire, there was something else. An engine, far away but growing closer. "They found us," Maya said. "Not necessarily." Cole kept his voice calm. Could be anyone. But he didn't believe that. And neither did Maya. A knock at the front door made them both freeze. Not a pounding, not a demanding blow, a regular knock, almost polite. Shadow moved to the door, sniffing along the bottom edge. His tail wagged once. Cole frowned. That wasn't a threat response. He approached the door, shotgun ready, and looked through the small peephole. A woman stood on his porch. Late 20s auburn hair escaping from a knit cap, her face red with cold. She wore a Forest Service jacket and carried a large pack. Cole opened the door. "Mr. Harrison." The woman's eyes went to the shotgun, then back to his face. "I'm Elena Voss, wildlife biologist with the Forest Service. I monitor this region." She paused, taking in his expression, the tension in his body. "Is everything all right? I saw smoke from your chimney. and wanted to make sure you weren't stranded. A wildlife biologist. Out in a blizzard. Cole didn't lower the shotgun. Kind of late for a welfare check. I was running tracking equipment on the North Ridge when the storm hit. Your cabin was the closest shelter. Elena's gaze moved past him into the cabin. Her eyes widened. Oh my God. Is that a police officer? There was no faking that reaction. The shock was genuine. Cole made a decision. Get inside, quick! Elena hurried through the door, and Cole closed it behind her, throwing the deadbolt. She stood in the middle of the cabin, staring at Maya on the couch, at Ranger by the fire, at the blood-stained bandages and the evidence of violence. What happened? Should I call for help? I have a satellite radio. No! Maya's voice was sharp. No calls, no radio. No one can know we're here. Elena looked between them, confusion and fear competing on her face. I don't understand. What's going on? Cole glanced at Maya. She gave him a slight nod. Sit down, Cole said to Elena. This is going to take a while to explain. And outside, through the screaming wind, headlights began to appear on the mountain road below. More than 2 this time. A lot more. Elena Voss sat with her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee, her face pale as Maya finished speaking. The storm howled against the cabin walls, but inside there was only the crackle of the fire and the weight of impossible truth. Deputy Chief Marsh, Elena said slowly. You're saying the Deputy Chief of Police is running a drug trafficking operation. Not running, protecting. Maya's voice was tired, but firm. The Mountain Syndicate pays him to make sure their shipments move freely. He reassigns patrol routes. He loses evidence. He discredits witnesses. She looked at Elena. How long have you been working in these mountains? 3 years. And in that time, how many reports have you filed about suspicious activity? Trucks on closed roads, chemical smells near the old mines. Elena's expression changed. Dozens, maybe more. I thought I assumed they were being investigated. They weren't. Every report you filed went straight to Marsh's desk, and every report you filed went straight into the trash. The color drained from Elena's face. All those reports, all those times I thought someone was doing something. Her voice hardened. My brother died 2 years ago. Fentanyl overdose. He was 26 years old. The silence in the cabin was heavy. I'm sorry, Maya said softly. The drugs that killed him. They came from here, didn't they? From these mountains. Probably. Elena set down her coffee cup. Her hands were shaking, but not from cold anymore. What do we do? We survive the night, Cole said. He was standing by the window watching the road below. The headlights had stopped moving. They were just sitting there, engines running, waiting. In the morning, we figure out our next move. They're out there right now, aren't they? Elena asked. Yes. And they're going to try to kill us. Yes. Elena nodded slowly. She looked at Maya, at the injured detective with the broken body and the unbroken spirit. Then she looked at Ranger, at the wounded dog who had refused to leave his partner's side. Finally, she looked at Cole. Then I guess we don't let them. Cole almost smiled. Almost. Shadow's head came up. A low growl built in his chest. Cole turned from the window. They're moving. Maya pushed herself upright, ignoring the pain that flashed across her face. How many? I count 6 vehicles. Maybe 20 men. Too many to fight. I wasn't planning to fight. Cole moved across the cabin, his movements quick and efficient. Not directly. He opened a trunk in the corner of the room and began pulling out equipment. Night vision goggles, paracord, smoke grenades, the tools of his trade. "What are you doing?" Elena asked. "Setting a trap." Maya watched him work. "You're not just a man on vacation, are you?" Cole paused. "No. Military, Navy SEAL, 14 years. He resumed his preparations. "Medical leave, PTSD, the standard story. There's nothing standard about you." Their eyes met across the room. Two broken people. Two fighters who had given everything and lost even more. "They killed my best friend," Cole said quietly. "A mission in Syria that went bad. I was supposed to get him out. I was too slow." He looked at Shadow. "That dog saved my life in 3 different countries. And when he retired, my grandfather took him in. When my grandfather died, Shadow was all I had left. So you came here to hide. I came here to heal." Cole picked up the shotgun. "But healing doesn't mean running. Not anymore." He moved to the door. "Where are you going?" Maya asked, to remind them why they should have left us alone. He opened the door and stepped into the storm. Shadow moved to follow, but Cole held up his hand. "Stay. Protect." The old dog understood. He positioned himself between the door and the 2 women, his body a wall of muscle and loyalty. The door closed. Cole vanished into the white fury of the blizzard, and on the road below, the vehicles began to move again. The cold hit Cole like a physical assault. Wind tore at his exposed skin, driving ice crystals into his flesh like tiny knives. But he had trained in conditions worse than this. He had operated in Arctic environments where the temperature fell to 50 below. This was nothing. He moved into the trees, using the storm as cover. His night vision goggles painted the world in shades of green. He could see the vehicles, now black shapes, moving slowly up the mountain road. They were being careful. Professional. They knew their target had killed one of their own in the initial ambush. They weren't underestimating him. Good. Overconfident enemies made mistakes. Careful enemies took longer. And time was what Cole needed. He reached his first position and began to work. Paracord stretched between trees. Cans filled with pebbles tied to low branches. Simple alarm systems that would turn the dark forest into a noisy maze. A figure emerged from the lead vehicle. Big man, military bearing. Military hen. He was carrying an automatic rifle and scanning the trees with practiced eyes. Cole recognized the type. Private military contractor. Former soldier turned mercenary. The Mountain Syndicate had money to burn. The man spoke into a radio. Cole couldn't hear the words over the wind, but he could guess the content. They were organizing, preparing to sweep the area. He moved to his second position and set another trap. This one was more sophisticated. A tripwire connected to a smoke grenade. When triggered, it would fill the immediate area with thick white smoke, disorienting anyone in the vicinity. The men began to spread out, 6 of them advancing through the trees, more staying with the vehicles. They were following standard tactics. Cole had written those tactics. He circled wide, moving behind their advancing line. The storm muffled his footsteps. The darkness swallowed his form. He was a ghost in his own territory. The first man triggered the alarm. Cons rattled violently in the wind. The man spun his rifle, coming up, firing 3 rounds into empty trees. The shots echoed across the mountain. "Contact!" he shouted into his radio. "East side, I've got movement!" But Cole was already north, setting another trap. He could see the confusion spreading among the men. They were shooting at shadows, at wind, at their own fear. The second alarm triggered. More shots, more shouted confusion. Then the smoke grenade went off. White clouds billowed through the trees, mixing with the snow, creating a wall of impenetrable white. Men stumbled and cursed. Someone fired blindly. Someone else shouted for them to hold fire. Cole moved through the chaos like water through cracks. He came up behind a man who was separated from his team and drove the butt of his rifle into the base of his skull. The man dropped without a sound. One down. He grabbed the man's radio and weapons, then disappeared back into the storm. The radio crackled. "Report. What's happening out there? We're taking fire, multiple shooters. They thought there was a team. Good. Pull back, everyone, pull back to the vehicles." Cole let them go. He could have engaged further, could have dropped more of them, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was to buy time, to make them afraid. Fear was a weapon, and Cole Harrison knew how to use it. He made his way back to the cabin, entering through the back door he had left unlocked. Maya had a pistol trained on the entrance. She lowered it when she saw him. "You're alive." "They're not coming tonight." Cole shed his snow-covered gear. "I convinced them it wasn't worth it." "How many?" "One unconscious. The rest retreated." He looked at her. "They'll be back in the morning. Daylight. Better visibility. More men." "What do we do?" Cole sat down near the fire, letting the warmth seep back into his frozen limbs. Shadow pressed against his side, and he ran his hand through the dog's fur. "We make them think we're running. Set a false trail. Let them follow it while we go somewhere they're not expecting." "Where?" Cole looked at the USB drive still clutched in Maya's hand. "To the one place that has everything they're afraid of. The old cold water mine. Their primary storage facility." He met her eyes. "And if your intel is right, the place where they're keeping your daughter." Maya's breath caught. Hope and fear warred on her face. "It's a suicide mission." "It's the only mission that matters." Cole's voice was quiet, but absolute. "They have your daughter. They have evidence that could bring down an entire criminal empire, and they think they've already won." He stood moving to the window, watching the distant glow of the vehicles retreating down the mountain. "We're going to show them how wrong they are." The fire had burned low by the time dawn began to break. Cole hadn't slept. Neither had Maya. They sat across from each other in the cabin's dim light, the USB drive on the table between them, like a live grenade. "You understand what you're asking?" Maya said. Her voice was raw from exhaustion and pain. "The Coldwater Mine is their fortress. Marsh has at least 30 men on his payroll. We'd be walking into a death trap." "We're already in a death trap." Cole leaned forward. "Right now, they control the board. They have your daughter. They have the evidence. They have law enforcement in their pocket. The longer we wait, the stronger their position gets. And if Lily isn't there, then we find out where she is." Cole's eyes were steady. "But we won't find anything sitting in this cabin waiting for them to regroup." Elena, who had been checking on Ranger's bandages, looked up. "He's right, Maya. I've been filing reports for 3 years. 3 years of watching trucks move through restricted areas. 3 years of smelling chemicals near abandoned mines. Nothing ever happened because they control the system." Her voice hardened. "My brother is dead because of that system. If there's a chance to break it, I'm in." Maya looked at Ranger. The German Shepherd was watching her, his dark eyes filled with that unwavering loyalty she had come to depend on. Even wounded, even barely able to stand, he was ready to follow her anywhere. She thought of Lily. Her daughter's laugh. Her daughter's face when she came home from school. Her daughter's voice on the phone 2 days ago, the last time they had spoken. "Mommy, when are you coming home? Soon, baby, I promise." A promise she might not be able to keep. "Okay," Maya said quietly. "Okay, but we do this smart. We don't go in blind. Cole nodded. First, we need to know what's on that drive. I told you if we access it. We're not accessing it here. Cole stood and moved to his gear. There's a ranger station about 12 miles north. Elena, you know it. The old Ridgecrest station, it's been closed for years. But the power grid still works. I've used it as a backup shelter during storms. He pulled out a map and spread it on the table. We access the drive there. Even if they detect the signal, they'll triangulate to an empty building while we're long gone. Maya studied the map. The route to Ridgecrest wound through dense forest far from any main roads. It was risky, but it was better than waiting to die. How do we get there? They're watching the roads. We don't take the roads. Cole traced a line through the wilderness. There's an old logging trail that runs along the ridgeline. It's rough, but my truck can handle it. We leave in 20 minutes. Ranger can't walk that far. Maya's voice cracked. His wound, he rides in the truck. Shadow will scout ahead. Cole looked at the two dogs, both watching with alert eyes. They've worked together before. Military dogs, police dogs, they speak the same language. As if to prove his point, Shadow rose and padded over to Ranger. The older dog lowered his head and touched his nose to Ranger's muzzle, a gesture of respect, of partnership. Maya felt tears threatening. He saved my life, you know. When they grabbed me, Ranger took down 2 of them before they shot him. He wouldn't stop fighting until they put a bullet in him. That's what partners do. Cole's voice was soft. They don't quit, even when it costs them everything. He wasn't just talking about the dogs. Maya could see it in his eyes, the weight of loss, the scars of failure. This man had watched someone he loved die because he couldn't save them. And now he was risking everything to save a stranger and her child. Why? She asked suddenly. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't know Lily. You could have left us in that snow and no one would have blamed you. Cole was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because I left someone behind once. I told myself there was nothing I could do. I told myself the mission came first. He met her eyes. I was wrong, and I've spent every day since trying to make that right. The confession hung in the air between them, raw, honest, the kind of truth that only comes from absolute darkness. His name was Danny, Cole continued. Danny Reeves. Best operator I ever worked with. Best friend I ever had. We were extracting a high-value target in Syria when everything went sideways. Enemy fire from 3 directions. Danny took a round in the leg. I had to choose carry him out and risk the whole team, or leave him and complete the mission. What did you do? I left him. The words came out like broken glass. I told myself I'd come back. I told myself it was the right call. By the time I made it back to his position, he was gone. They found his body 3 days later. Maya reached across the table and touched his hand. That wasn't your fault. Yes, it was. I made a choice, and Danny paid for it. Cole pulled his hand back, gently. I won't make that choice again. Not with you. Not with your daughter. Not with anyone. The cabin fell silent, except for the crackle of the dying fire. Then Elena spoke. 20 minutes. You said we leave in 20 minutes. Cole nodded. Get whatever you can carry. Water, food, medical supplies. Leave everything else. They moved with purpose. Elena gathered supplies from the kitchen. Maya forced herself to her feet, ignoring the screaming protest of her broken ribs. Cole loaded weapons into a duffel bag. Ranger whined softly. Maya knelt beside him, running her fingers through his fur. I know, boy. I know you want to help, but you need to rest. Just for a little while longer. She pressed her forehead against his. We're going to find Lily, and then we're going to make them pay for what they did to us. The dog's tail wagged weakly. His tongue licked her cheek. "That's my good boy. That's my brave boy." Shadow appeared at Cole's side. The Belgian Malinois was fully alert now, his body tense with anticipation. He knew something was coming. He was ready. "Time to move," Cole said. They loaded into the truck, Maya in the front seat, Elena in the back with Ranger. Shadow jumped up beside the wounded shepherd, positioning himself as a guardian. Cole started the engine. The sound was too loud in the morning quiet. "Once we leave this cabin, there's no coming back," he said. "They'll find it. They'll destroy it. Everything I have here will be gone." "I'm sorry," Maya said. "Don't be." Cole put the truck in gear. "It was just a place. This what we're doing now. This is what matters." The truck rolled forward into the gray morning light. Behind them, the cabin grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared around a bend in the road. They didn't look back. The logging trail was exactly as bad as Cole had warned. The truck bucked and lurched over fallen branches and hidden rocks. Every bump sent waves of pain through Maya's battered body, but she gritted her teeth and said nothing. Elena braced herself in the back seat, one hand on Ranger's back, to keep the dog steady. "How much farther?" she asked. "Another 6 miles. Cole's eyes were fixed on the trail ahead. "We should reach Ridgecrest in about an hour." Shadow suddenly barked from the back. A sharp, urgent sound. Cole's hands tightened on the wheel. "What is it, boy?" The dog was staring out the window, his ears flat against his skull. Then Maya heard it too. The distant thump of helicopter blades. "They're searching from the air," she said. "Marsh must have called in resources." "State police?" "No, private. The syndicate has connections to a security company that provides helicopter services. They use them for surveillance runs during shipments." Cole spotted a thick stand of pines ahead. He gunned the engine and drove the truck into the cover branches, scraping against the windows. "Everyone stay still." The helicopter passed overhead, its shadow rippling across the treetops. It circled once, twice, then moved on toward the east. They waited in tense silence until the sound faded. "That was close," Elena breathed. "Too close." Cole's jaw was tight. "They're expanding their search grid. We need to move faster." He pulled back onto the trail and pushed the truck harder. The engine groaned in protest. 40 minutes later, they reached the Ridgecrest Ranger Station. It was a small building weathered by years of mountain winters, but the solar panels on the roof still gleamed dully in the overcast light. Cole killed the engine. "Elena, stay with the dogs. Maya, you're with me." "I should come too," Elena protested. "I need someone here to watch our exit. If things go bad, you get Ranger out. Take the truck, head for the main highway. Don't stop for anything." Elena wanted to argue, but she saw the logic. She nodded reluctantly. Maya followed Cole into the station. The interior was dusty and cold, but the equipment was intact. Cole found the main power switch and flipped it. Lights flickered on. A computer terminal hummed to life. "Old system, but it'll work." He inserted the USB drive. "Let's see what you risked your life for." The drive's contents loaded slowly. Folder after folder appeared on the screen. Shipping manifests, financial records, photographs. Maya's breath caught as she scrolled through the images. Warehouses filled with plastic-wrapped bricks of fentanyl. Children, some no older than Lily, being loaded into trucks with duffel bags strapped to their bodies. "Animals," she whispered. "They're using children as mules." "The cartels have been doing it for years," Cole said grimly. "Kids don't attract suspicion. And if they get caught, they're just lost children. No connection to the organization." Maya's voice was thick with rage. "Marsh knew about this. He signed off on it. He let it happen in his own jurisdiction." She scrolled further. More photographs. More evidence. Then she stopped. A face she recognized stared back at her from the screen. It wasn't Marsh. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What is it?" Maya pointed at the image. A man in a tailored suit shaking hands with someone whose face was pixelated. The background showed what looked like a federal building. "That's Senator Williams. He chairs the Senate Committee on Drug Enforcement." Her hands were shaking. "He's in the syndicate's pocket." Cole leaned closer. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. I've testified before his committee 3 times. He grilled me on interdiction tactics. He wanted to know our procedures, our weaknesses, our informant networks." She laughed bitterly. "I thought he was thorough. He was surveilling us for them." The corruption went higher than she had ever imagined. Not just local police. Not just state officials. A United States senator. "This changes everything," Cole said quietly. "If a senator is involved, you can't trust anyone in the federal system either. There has to be someone. Someone clean." Maya's mind raced. She thought of every contact she had made in 14 months of undercover work. Every agent, every prosecutor, every official who had touched her case. Then she remembered. "My brother." "What?" "My brother, Corbin Vance. He's DEA works out of the Denver field office. He's the one who recruited me for this assignment in the first place." She looked at Cole. "He's clean. I would stake my life on it." "You might have to." Maya found a secure satellite phone in the station's emergency kit. Her fingers trembled as she dialed a number from memory. 2 rings. 3. "Hello?" A man's voice, sharp and alert. "Corbin, it's me." Silence. Then, "Maya, Jesus Christ. Maya, where are you? You disappeared 2 days ago. Everyone thinks you're dead." "I'm alive. I'm in trouble. Big trouble." "What happened?" "Marsh is dirty. He's been running protection for the syndicate the whole time. He blew my cover and tried to have me killed." Her voice broke. "They have Lily." "What?" Corbin's voice turned to ice. "They have my niece. Marsh took her. He's using her as leverage to keep me quiet. I'll kill him. I swear to God I will put a bullet in his head myself." "Corbin, listen to me. It's bigger than Marsh. I have evidence that connects to Senator Williams." Another silence. Longer this time. "You're sure?" "I'm looking at photographs right now. He's in this up to his neck." "Maya, do you understand what you're saying? If Williams is involved, he has oversight of the DEA. He could have people in my own office." "I know. That's why I'm calling you. You're the only person I trust." Cole touched her arm, warning. His eyes were fixed on the window. "Corbin, I have to go. I'm sending you everything. An encrypted file. All of it." "Where are you?" "I can't tell you. Not yet. If this gets intercepted." "I understand. Send the file. I'll start working on it from my end. Off the books. No one will know." "There's a location. The Coldwater mine. That's where they're holding the children they use as mules. That might be where they have Lily." "I'm coming to you." "No. You're too far away and they're watching everything. I have help. A Navy SEAL named Cole Harrison. We're going to try to get Lily out." "Maya, don't do anything crazy. I have to go. I love you, brother." "Maya." She ended the call. Cole was already moving. "We need to leave. Now." "What did you see?" "Dust on the access road. Vehicle approaching fast." They ran for the truck. Elena had the engine running, her face pale with fear. "I saw them coming. 2 SUVs. But Cole threw himself behind the wheel. "Hold on." He gunned the engine and tore out of the station's parking area just as the first SUV rounded the bend. Gunfire erupted behind them. The rear window exploded in a shower of glass. "Get down!" Cole shouted. Maya ducked, covering Ranger with her body. Elena pressed herself flat on the seat. Shadow stood rigid, growling at the threat behind them. Cole drove like a man possessed, taking the logging trail at speeds that should have been impossible. The truck bounced and skidded, but he kept control through sheer force of will. The SUVs pursued, but they weren't built for this terrain. One of them hit a rock and blew a tire, spinning out into the trees. The second kept coming. "They're gaining," Elena said. Cole reached into his bag and pulled out a smoke grenade. "Maya, take the wheel." "What?" "Take the wheel." She grabbed it, steering with her good arm, while Cole leaned out the window. He pulled the pin and threw the grenade behind them. A cloud of thick white smoke billowed up, completely obscuring the road. The pursuing SUV braked hard, blinded. Cole took the wheel back and veered onto a side trail that was barely visible through the undergrowth. They drove in tense silence for another 10 minutes, listening for sounds of pursuit. Nothing. "I think we lost them," Elena said. "For now." Cole's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel. "They'll track us eventually. They always do." Maya looked at the shattered rear window, at the blood from a graze wound on her arm. She hadn't even noticed until now. "They knew exactly where we were. They found the station too fast. They're tracking us somehow." "How I don't have a phone. Elena's radio is off." Cole slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop. "Get out. Everyone out." They scrambled out of the vehicle. Cole went straight to the wheel wells, running his hands along the undercarriage. When he emerged, he was holding a small black device. "GPS tracker. They must have planted it last night while I was setting traps." "So they've known our position the whole time?" "Yes." Cole crushed the device under his boot. "Not anymore." But the damage was done. The syndicate knew they had gone to Ridge Crest. They knew what direction they were heading. Even without the tracker, the search grid was getting smaller. Maya looked at the rugged wilderness surrounding them. "How far to the mine from here?" Cole pulled out his map. "About 8 miles as the crow flies, but the terrain is brutal. On foot it would take most of the day. Then we start walking. Maya, you can barely stand. Your ribs—" "My daughter is in that mine." Her voice was pure steel. "I will crawl there on my hands and knees if I have to." Cole met her eyes. He saw the same fire that burned in the best operators he had ever worked with. The fire that refused to die. "Okay," he said quietly. "Then we walk." They gathered what they could carry. Elena fashioned a stretcher from branches and a tarp for Ranger. The dog couldn't walk far, but they weren't leaving him behind. Shadow took point, his nose to the ground, his senses alert for any threat. And as they disappeared into the wilderness, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time since the storm. It felt like a sign. Or maybe just a cruel reminder that somewhere out there, a little girl was waiting for her mother to keep a promise. 3 hours into their hike, Shadow stopped dead. His ears pricked forward. His body went rigid. Cole raised his hand. Everyone froze. "What is it?" Maya whispered. Cole listened. At first there was nothing but the wind in the trees. Then he heard voices, distant, but getting closer. "Patrol," he breathed. "Everyone down." They pressed themselves into a ravine, pulling branches over their bodies. Ranger whimpered once, and Maya clamped her hand gently over his muzzle. 2 men passed within 20 feet of their position. They wore tactical gear and carried automatic rifles. "Should have found them by now," one was saying. "Marsh is going to have our heads." "Relax, they're on foot, injured. They can't get far." "What about the kid? What about her? She keeps crying, asking for her mother." Maya's body went rigid. Cole put a hand on her arm, holding her in place. "That's not our problem. Our job is to find the cop and anyone with her. Clean up the mess." They moved on, their voices fading into the forest. Maya was shaking. Tears streamed silently down her face. "She's alive," Cole whispered. Did you hear that? She's alive. She's scared. She's alone and scared, and I can't. You will! We will! Cole's grip on her arm tightened. We're going to get her back. I promise you. It was a promise he had no right to make, but he made it anyway. Because some promises were worth dying for. They waited until this patrol was long gone, then continued their march toward the mine. The terrain grew steeper, rockier. Every step was an agony for Maya, but she didn't slow down. She couldn't slow down. Her daughter was waiting. By late afternoon, they had covered 6 miles. The Coldwater mine was close now. Cole could feel it in his bones, that familiar tension that preceded every operation. The air itself seemed heavier, charged with danger. Shadow returned from his forward scout, his body low, his movements urgent. The dog pressed against Cole's leg and let out a soft whine. What did you find, boy? Shadow turned and looked back the way he had come. His ears were flat, his hackles raised. Guards, Maya asked. Worse than guards. Cole crouched beside his dog, reading the animal's body language like a book. A perimeter. They've set up a defensive line. Elena shifted Ranger's stretcher on her shoulders. The wounded shepherd had been remarkably quiet during the journey, but his eyes never left Maya. How many men are we talking about? Shadow counted at least 8 in his sweep pattern. But that's just what he saw. There could be twice that many. Maya's jaw tightened. We knew it wouldn't be easy. Easy and impossible are different things. Cole pulled out a small pair of binoculars. We need eyes on that mine before we do anything else. Elena, stay here with the dogs. Maya, you're with me. I should come, Elena protested. You're the only one who can carry Ranger if things go wrong. And if we don't come back... Cole met her eyes. You get out. You get to my brother. You make sure this evidence reaches someone who can use it. Elena wanted to argue. Cole could see it in her face. But she understood duty. She understood sacrifice. 1 hour, she said. If you're not back in 1 hour, I'm coming after you. Fair enough. Cole and Maya moved through the forest like ghosts. Despite her injuries, Maya kept pace. The pain had become a distant thing, pushed aside by adrenaline and desperation. They reached a ridge overlooking the mine. Cole raised the binoculars. The Coldwater mine had been abandoned for decades, but someone had brought it back to life. Fresh tire tracks marked the access road. Portable generators hummed near the main entrance. Armed men patrolled the perimeter in regular patterns. Professional setup, Cole murmured. Military-grade security. The syndicate doesn't cut corners. Maya took the binoculars. Her hands trembled as she scanned the compound. There, the building on the right. That's where they process the shipments. And the children? I don't know. When I was undercover, I never got access to this location. It was their most protected asset. Her voice cracked. Lily could be anywhere in there. Cole studied the layout. Main entrance heavily guarded. Secondary entrance on the east side, fewer men, but a longer approach, and they're barely visible against the rocky hillside, a ventilation shaft. What are you thinking? Maya asked. The vent shaft. Old mines always have them. If it's still intact, we might be able to get inside without being seen. And if it's collapsed, then we find another way. Maya lowered the binoculars. Her face was pale drawn, but her eyes burned with determination. Cole, if something happens to me in there, nothing's going to happen. Listen to me. She grabbed his arm. If something happens, you get Lily out. You don't come back for me. You don't hesitate. You get my daughter out of that place and you put her in my brother's hands. Promise me. Cole looked at her. He saw Danny's face. He heard Danny's voice in his final radio transmission. Go, Cole. Complete the mission. I'll be fine. He hadn't been fine. He had died alone in enemy territory because Cole had followed orders instead of his heart. "I promise," Cole said. "But you're not going to die. Not today." They made their way back to Elena and the dogs. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows through the trees. "What's the plan?" Elena asked. "We wait for dark." Cole began checking his weapons. "The vent shaft is our entry point. Maya and I go in. You stay here with Shadow and Ranger. If you hear sustained gunfire, I already know. I run." "No," Cole shook his head. "If you hear sustained gunfire, you come in. We're going to need every advantage we can get." Elena stared at him. "You want me to bring the dogs into a firefight?" "I want you to bring Shadow. Ranger stays here. He's too wounded to fight." Cole looked at the old Belgian Malinois. "Shadow has more combat experience than most soldiers I know. If things go sideways, he might be the difference between living and dying." Shadow's ears perked up at his name. The dog seemed to understand what was being asked. His tail gave a single decisive wag. "He's ready," Cole said. "The question is, are you—" Elena looked at Maya, at the desperate mother who had risked everything for her child. She thought of her brother, of the drugs that had stolen his life. She thought of all the reports she had filed, all the warnings she had given, all the times the system had failed. "I'm ready." The next 2 hours passed in tense silence. Cole used the time to plan to prepare to run scenarios in his head. Maya sat with Ranger, whispering to him, drawing strength from his steady presence. When full darkness fell, they moved. The approach to the vent shaft took 40 minutes of careful navigation. Every step was measured, every sound evaluated. The guards patrolled with flashlights, their beams cutting through the darkness like searching fingers. Cole and Maya pressed against the rocky hillside, waiting for a patrol to pass. 2 minutes between sweeps, Cole breathed. "That's our window. It's not enough time. It'll have to be." The patrol moved on. Cole sprinted for the vent shaft, Maya right behind him. He reached the opening and dropped to his knees, pulling away the rusted grate. The shaft was narrow, dark, and smelled of stale air and old stone. But it was intact. "You first," Cole said. Maya didn't hesitate. She slid into the darkness, her injured arm screaming in protest. Cole followed, pulling the grate back into place behind them. They crawled. The shaft was barely wide enough for Cole's broad shoulders. The darkness was absolute, the silence broken only by their breathing and the scrape of their bodies against metal. After what felt like an eternity, Maya's hand touched open air. "There's a drop." "How far?" "I can't tell. 6 feet, maybe more." "Go. I'll catch up." Maya dropped. Cole heard her land with a grunt of pain. Then he was through, falling, hitting the ground hard enough to knock the wind from his lungs. They were inside. Cole pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and clicked it on. The beam revealed a storage area filled with crates. Some of them were open, their contents visible. Weapons. Automatic rifles. Grenades. Enough firepower to arm a small army. "They're not just running drugs," Maya whispered. "They're running guns too." The perfect combination. Sell the drugs to fund the weapons. Sell the weapons to protect the drugs. Cole's voice was grim. "This is bigger than we thought." They moved deeper into the mine. The tunnels branched and twisted, a maze of stone and shadow. Cole navigated by instinct, following the faint sounds of activity deeper in the complex. Voices. Getting closer. Cole killed his flashlight and pressed against the wall. Maya did the same. 2 men walked past their conversation, casual, relaxed. They had no idea they were being watched. "Shipment goes out tomorrow night. Boss wants everything perfect." What about the cop? They find her yet? Still looking. Marsh is losing his mind. If she talks, she won't talk. She's probably dead already, frozen solid in those mountains. They laughed. The sound echoed through the tunnel like something obscene. Maya's hand found Cole's in the darkness. Her grip was iron. When the men were gone, they continued. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber. Cole counted 6 men, all armed, all focused on their work. They were packing bricks of white powder into duffel bags, children's school backpacks, and there in a corner of the chamber, huddled together like frightened animals, were 7 children. Maya made a sound. Small. Wounded. Cole clamped his hand over her mouth. Not yet, he breathed in her ear. We have to find Lily first. He felt her whole body shaking, but she nodded. They circled the chamber through a side tunnel. Cole memorized the positions of the guards, the layout of the space, the possible exits. His mind was already calculating angles of fire points, of cover extraction routes. Another tunnel. More guards. And then a door. Heavy steel reinforced. A man stood outside it. Big. Scarred. The kind of man who had seen violence and learned to enjoy it. That's where they keep them, Maya whispered. The special cargo. Special cargo. The children they use for long-distance transport. The ones young enough that no one questions them. The ones who look innocent. Her voice broke. Lily would be perfect for that. Cole studied the guard. I can take him, but it'll make noise. Then we make noise. She was right. There was no clean way to do this. There never had been. Cole moved before the guard could react. His arm wrapped around the man's throat, cutting off blood flow to the brain. The guard struggled, reaching for his weapon, but Cole's grip was unbreakable. 8 seconds. 10. The man went limp. Cole lowered him to the ground and checked for a pulse. Still alive. He would wake up with a headache and a story no one would believe. Maya was already at the door. It was locked. Of course it was locked. Can you pick it? No, but I can break it. Cole drew his pistol. Cover your ears. He fired once. The lock shattered. The sound was deafening in the confined space. Maya threw open the door. Inside were 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. The girl was about 7 years old, with dark, curly hair and tear-stained cheeks. Lily. Maya's voice was a sob. The little girl looked up. Her eyes went wide. Mommy. Maya ran to her daughter and swept her into her arms. She was crying, laughing, holding Lily so tight it seemed like she would never let go. I'm here, baby. Mommy's here. I've got you. They said you were gone, Lily sobbed. They said you were never coming back. They lied, baby, they lied. I will always come back for you. Always. Cole gave them 10 seconds. It was all he could afford. Maya, we need to move. She looked up at him, her face transformed by joy and relief. The other children, we take them all. He moved to the 2 boys. They were older than Lily, maybe 10 or 11. Their eyes were hollow, empty. They had seen too much. What are your names? Tyler. The bigger one. His voice was barely a whisper. Marcus. The smaller one. He was shaking. Tyler, Marcus, I'm here to take you home, but you need to do exactly what I say. Can you do that? They nodded. Good. Stay behind me. Stay quiet. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you to hide, you hide. Understand? They nodded again. Cole led them back into the tunnel. Maya carried Lily, ignoring the agony in her broken ribs. The little girl's arms were wrapped around her mother's neck, her face buried in Maya's shoulder. They made it halfway back to the main chamber before the alarm went off. The sound was piercing, echoing through the tunnels. Red lights began to flash. "They know we're here," Cole said. "Run." They ran. The children struggled to keep up, their legs too short, their bodies too weak. Maya pushed through the pain, driven by pure maternal fury. Behind them, shouts, footsteps. The enemy was coming. Cole reached the main chamber just as a guard rounded the corner. He fired twice. The man dropped. "Go!" Cole shouted. "The vent shaft!" Maya sprinted across the chamber with Lily in her arms. The children followed. The workers scattered, diving for cover. Another guard appeared. Cole shot him. A third guard raised his weapon. Cole felt the bullet pass inches from his head. He returned fire. The guard fell. They reached the tunnel leading to the vent shaft. But something was wrong. There were voices ahead of them, too. They were surrounded. "Cole..." Maya's voice was desperate. He looked around. There had to be another way. There. A side passage. Narrow. Unlit. But it was open. This way. They ran into the darkness. Cole's flashlight cut a path through the black. The children whimpered but kept moving. Behind them, pursuers. Ahead, unknown territory. The passage opened into another chamber, and standing in the center of it, illuminated by emergency lights, was Deputy Chief Victor Marsh. He wasn't alone. 6 armed men flanked him, and kneeling at his feet, hands zip-tied behind her back, was Elena. Shadow lay motionless beside her. "Hello, Detective Reyes." Marsh's smile was cold reptilian. "I was wondering when you'd show up." Maya stopped. Lily clung tighter to her neck. "It's okay, baby," Maya whispered. "Don't look." "But I'm afraid it's not okay." Marsh took a step forward. "You've caused me a tremendous amount of trouble. My employers are very unhappy. And when they're unhappy, people die." Cole calculated the angles. 6 men, all armed. He could take 2, maybe 3 before they cut him down. But Maya and the children would be caught in the crossfire. "Let them go," Cole said. "The children, the woman, the dog. Let them go and take me instead." Marsh laughed. "A hero. How touching." He looked at Cole with genuine curiosity. "You're the SEAL, aren't you? The one who's been making my life difficult. I have to admit I'm impressed. You killed 4 of my men. Disabled 3 more. Not bad for a man on medical leave." "I was motivated." "Obviously." Marsh's gaze shifted to Maya. "And you, Detective? I underestimated you. I thought the storm would finish what my men started. I should have put a bullet in your head myself." "You should have." Maya's voice was steady. "But you didn't. And now everyone is going to know what you are." "No, Detective. They won't." Marsh pulled his own pistol and pointed it at Elena's head. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me that USB drive. You're going to tell me everyone who's seen the contents, and then you're going to die. All of you. A tragic accident in an abandoned mine. Very sad. Very clean. And if we refuse, then I kill your friend here. And your dog. And these children one by one until you change your mind." He cocked the hammer. "Your choice, Detective. How many lives are you willing to sacrifice for your principles?" Maya's arms tightened around Lily. The little girl was crying now, her whole body shaking. "Mommy, I'm scared." "I know, baby, I know." Cole's finger rested on his trigger. 1 shot. He could take Marsh with 1 shot. But the other men would fire. Elena would die. Maybe the children, too. Danny's voice in his head. "Sometimes there's no good choice. Sometimes there's only the least bad one." He had made the wrong choice before. He couldn't make it again. "Okay," Cole said. He slowly raised his hands. "Okay. You win." Marsh smiled. "I know." And then Shadow moved. The Belgian Malinois wasn't dead. He wasn't even injured. He had been waiting, watching, conserving his strength for the perfect moment. 12 years of training, 3 combat deployments, a lifetime of protecting the people he loved. Shadow lunged. His jaws clamped around Marsh's gun hand with crushing force. The deputy chief screamed. The pistol fired into the ceiling. Cole was already moving. His first shot took out the man closest to Elena. His second dropped the one reaching for Shadow. Maya threw herself over Lily, shielding her daughter with her own body. Elena rolled sideways, sweeping the legs of a guard who was aiming at Cole. He went down hard, and Elena drove her elbow into his throat. Shadow released Marsh's hand and went for his throat. The deputy chief fell back, arms raised in desperate defense. Cole fired again. Again. The chamber filled with smoke and screaming. And then it was over. 5 men down. The 6th had fled into the darkness. Marsh lay on his back, Shadow's jaws inches from his face. The dog's growl was constant, terrifying. "Call him off," Marsh shrieked. "Call him off!" Cole walked over and stood above the man who had tried to destroy everything he had come to protect. "Shadow! Hold!" The dog's jaws closed, but didn't release. His eyes never left Marsh's throat. "Please!" Marsh begged. Blood ran from his mangled hand. "Please, I'll tell you everything. The architect, Senator Williams, all of it. Just don't let him kill me." Cole knelt beside him. "The children you took, the lives you destroyed, the families you tore apart. You want mercy." "I was just following orders. I didn't have a choice." "Everyone has a choice." Cole's voice was ice. "You made yours." He stood and looked at Maya. She was still holding Lily, tears streaming down both their faces. "It's over," Cole said. "Let's get everyone out of here." But Maya was looking at something behind him. Her face had gone pale. Cole turned. Standing in the entrance to the chamber was a man in a tailored suit. Silver hair, cold eyes, a smile that held no warmth. "Actually," the man said, "it's just beginning." He wasn't alone. Behind him stood 20 armed men, all of them pointing their weapons directly at Cole. "My name is Victor Kane. Some people call me the Architect." He stepped into the light. "And you, Mr. Harrison, have something that belongs to me." Cole's finger never left the trigger. 20 guns pointed at him. 20 men ready to fire. The math was simple. The math was hopeless. Victor Kane walked forward with the casual confidence of a man who had never lost. His silver hair gleamed under the emergency lights. His eyes held the cold emptiness of someone who had stopped seeing human beings as anything more than obstacles. "I've been watching you, Mr. Harrison." Kane's voice was cultured, refined, the voice of boardrooms and backroom deals. "You're impressive. Former Navy SEAL, decorated, 14 years of service, 3 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star for valor in Afghanistan." He smiled. "But you're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. You've done your homework." "I always do my homework. That's why I've built an empire while men like you follow orders." Kane's gaze shifted to Maya, to the little girl clinging to her neck. "Detective Reyes, you've been a persistent problem. I admire persistence. It's a quality I look for in my employees." "I'd rather die." "That can be arranged." Kane's smile didn't waver. "But first the USB drive. Where is it?" Maya's hand went instinctively to her pocket. Cole caught the movement. So did Kane. Ah, so you do have it. Kane extended his hand. Give it to me and I'll make this quick. Painless. The children will go home. Your daughter will grow up thinking this was all a bad dream. You're lying. Perhaps. But what choice do you have? Kane gestured at his men. You could fight. You might even kill a few of us. But you'll die. Your daughter will watch her mother die. Is that what you want? Lily was sobbing now, her face buried in Maya's shoulder. The sound was heartbreaking. The sound of innocence confronting pure evil. Cole's mind raced. He had been in impossible situations before. He had found ways out when there were no ways out. There had to be something. Shadow was still holding Marsh down, the wounded deputy chief whimpering beneath the dog's jaws. Elena stood with the two boys, her face pale, but determined. Ranger was somewhere outside, too wounded to help. 20 men, 20 guns. And then Cole heard it. A distant sound, growing closer. The rhythmic thump of helicopter rotors. Kane heard it too. His expression flickered. Just for a moment. Just enough. Sir. One of his men touched his earpiece. We have incoming aircraft, multiple signatures, military configuration. What? 3 helicopters, Black Hawks. They're not ours. Kane's composure cracked. That's impossible. Williams controls all federal assets in this region. No one moves without his approval. Someone moved. Cole's voice was calm. Steady. Guess your senator doesn't control everything. The satellite phone. Corbin. Maya's brother had received the evidence. He had mobilized a response. Kane's face twisted with fury. Kill them. Kill them all. We're leaving. The guns came up. Cole threw himself in front of Maya and Lily, and then the world exploded. The first helicopter's spotlight blazed through a collapsed section of the mine ceiling, flooding the chamber with blinding white light. Men screamed, throwing their arms up to shield their eyes. Cole didn't hesitate. He grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her toward the nearest tunnel. Elena followed with the boys. Shadow released Marsh and sprinted after them. Behind them, chaos. Kane's men were firing wildly, some at the helicopters, some at Shadow's. The rotor's thunder drowned out commands, orders, screams. Go, Cole shouted. Back the way we came. They ran. The children struggled to keep up. Tyler stumbled. Cole scooped him up without breaking stride. A man appeared in the tunnel ahead. Cole shot him. Another man. Another shot. They burst into the main chamber. The workers had fled. The processing equipment stood abandoned. The vent shaft is too narrow, Maya gasped. The children can't fit. The main entrance. It's our only shot. They changed direction. Cole led them through a maze of tunnels, navigating by memory, by instinct, by desperate hope. The sounds of battle followed them. Automatic weapons, explosions, the deep thunder of the helicopter's mounted guns. They reached the main entrance. 2 guards stood there, weapons raised. They saw Cole coming and opened fire. Cole dove, taking Tyler down with him. The bullets passed overhead. He rolled, aimed, fired. 1 guard dropped. Shadow launched himself at the second. The dog's momentum carried both of them to the ground. Teeth found flesh. The guards screamed. Move, Cole shouted. They burst through the entrance into the cold night air. The compound was chaos. Men running, vehicles burning, helicopters circling overhead, their spotlights turning night into day. And there, sprinting toward them across the open ground, was Ranger. The wounded German shepherd should have been unable to walk, but he was running toward his partner. Ranger, Maya cried. The dog reached them and pressed against her leg, his tail wagging despite the blood seeping through his bandages. He looked up at Lily. The little girl reached down and touched his head. Good boy, Lily whispered. Good boy. A voice boomed from one of the helicopters. "This is the DEA. Everyone on the ground. You are under arrest." Men in tactical gear rappelled from the aircraft. They moved with precision efficiency, overwhelming force. Kane's men threw down their weapons and dropped to their knees. Cole kept his group moving toward the tree line. They weren't safe yet. Not until they were far from this place. They had almost reached the trees when a figure stepped out of the shadows. Victor Kane. He was alone. His suit was torn, his silver hair disheveled. But he still held a pistol, and it was pointed directly at Lily. "Nobody moves." Everyone froze. "You think you've won?" Kane's voice was ragged, desperate. "You've destroyed my operation, my network, my life's work. But I'm not going to prison. I'm not going to stand trial, and neither is anyone who can testify against me." "It's over, Kane." Cole's voice was steady. "Your men are surrendering. Your protectors are exposed. There's nowhere to go." "Then I have nothing to lose." Kane's finger tightened on the trigger. "Step aside. I'm taking the girl." Maya's whole body went rigid. "No." "Yes. She's my insurance, my ticket out of here. One helicopter, one pilot, or I put a bullet in her head." Lily was crying again, silent tears streaming down her face. Cole assessed the situation. Kane was 10 feet away, too far to rush, too close to miss. If he fired, the bullet would hit Lily before Cole could reach him. "You don't want to do this," Cole said. "You're a businessman, a negotiator. Think about what comes next." "What comes next is I disappear. New identity, new country. I've done it before. Not with the entire DEA watching, not with this much attention. You kill that girl, you become the most wanted man in America. Every agency, every country will hunt you. You won't last a week." Kane hesitated. Cole could see the calculation in his eyes. The businessman weighing the odds. "Or," Cole continued, "you surrender. You have money. You have lawyers. You have information that prosecutors will want. You cooperate. You testify against your partners. You might see the outside of a cell before you die." "I don't make deals." "Then you die here, tonight. One of those helicopter snipers has you in their sights right now. You pull that trigger, you're dead before the girl hits the ground." Kane's hand trembled. His eyes darted to the helicopters circling overhead. Cole took a step forward. "Look at me, Kane. Look at me." Their eyes met. "You've lost," Cole said quietly. "Accept it. Live or refuse. Die. Your choice." The moment stretched. 1 second. 2. An eternity. Then Kane lowered his weapon. Smart decision. Cole moved forward and took the pistol from Kane's hand. Behind him, DEA agents rushed in. They forced Kane to the ground, zip-tying his wrists to reading him his rights. Maya collapsed to her knees, still holding Lily. The two of them clung to each other, sobbing, laughing, releasing all the terror and hope of the past days. "It's over, baby," Maya whispered. "It's really over. I want to go home, Mommy. We're going home, I promise." A man approached through the chaos. Tall, lean, the same stubborn jaw as Maya. "Corbin," Maya looked up at her brother with tears in her eyes. Corbin Vance, DEA agent, knelt beside his sister. "I got your message. Mobilized every resource I could trust." He looked at Cole. "You must be Harrison. My sister says you saved her life." "She saved her own life. I just helped." Corbin extended his hand. Cole took it. "Thank you. For everything." Cole nodded. "What happens now?" Now we clean up. We've got enough evidence to bring down half the syndicate's network. Marsh is already talking. He's terrified of Kane turning on him. Senator Williams is going to have a very bad morning when federal agents show up at his door. Corbin's expression hardened. This operation has been bleeding our communities for years. Tonight we started healing that wound. Elena approached the two boys still close beside her. What about the children Tyler and Marcus? We've already contacted family services. Their parents have been notified. Corbin looked at the boys with genuine compassion. You're going home, kids. Tonight. Marcus, the younger one, looked up at Elena. Will you come with us? Elena knelt to his level. I can't, sweetheart, but you're going to be okay. I promise. She hugged him, then Tyler. You're both so brave. Never forget that. Cole felt a pressure against his leg. He looked down. Shadow stood there tired, but alert. And beside him, leaning for support, was Ranger. Two warriors. Two survivors. Cole knelt and ran his hands over both dogs. You did good, boys. Both of you. Shadow's tail wagged. Rangers followed a moment later. Maya approached Lily, still in her arms. The little girl was exhausted, her eyes half closed, her head resting on her mother's shoulder. She's asleep, Maya said softly. She's safe. Maya's eyes met his. Because of you. Because of all of us. A medic approached to check Maya's injuries. Cole stepped back, watching the chaos slowly transform into order. Agents processing prisoners, helicopters landing, evidence teams moving into the mine. He felt a hand on his arm. Elena. What will you do now? She asked. I don't know. Go back to my cabin, I guess. See what's left of it. Cole, she hesitated. This thing you do, saving people fighting impossible odds, it's not the life of a man who wants peace. Maybe peace isn't what I thought it was. Maybe, Elena smiled. Or maybe you just needed to remember why you became a soldier in the first place. She walked away to help with the children. Cole watched her go. Maya returned after the medic finished. Lily was still asleep, oblivious to the world. Corbin says they found 43 kilos of fentanyl in that mine, street value of about $2 million, plus the weapons. She shook her head. It would have destroyed so many lives. It already destroyed too many. But not as many as it could have. Maya shifted Lily's weight. My brother wants to debrief you. Officially, you were never here. But off the record, the DEA owes you a debt they can never repay. I don't want payment. I know. That's why you deserve it. She looked at him for a long moment. Cole, what you said back there about your friend Danny, about leaving him behind. Cole's jaw tightened. You were wrong, Maya said. What happened to him wasn't your fault. Sometimes there's no right choice. Sometimes people die no matter what you do. The difference between a good man and a bad man isn't whether they fail. It's whether they keep trying. You don't know what I did. I know what you did tonight. I know you walked into a death trap for a woman you'd never met. I know you carried my daughter out of hell. Her voice broke. Danny would be proud of you. And if he's watching, he knows the truth. You never left him behind. Not where it counts. Cole felt something shift in his chest. Something that had been locked tight for 14 months. Thank you, he said quietly. Thank you. Maya rose on her toes and kissed his cheek. For giving me my daughter back. For giving me my life back. I will never forget what you did. She walked away toward one of the helicopters where Corbin was waiting. Lily stirred briefly, looking back over her mother's shoulder. Bye, soldier man, the little girl said sleepily. Bye, doggies. She waved. Cole waved back. And then they were gone. Cole stood in the aftermath of the battle, surrounded by agents and prisoners and evidence of an empire falling. Shadow pressed against his leg. Ranger, having refused to board the helicopter, stood on his other side. "Looks like you're staying with me," Cole said to the shepherd. Ranger's tail wagged. "Great, 2 dogs, in a cabin that might not even exist anymore." But he was smiling. For the first time in 14 months, he was actually smiling. The noise of the operation faded as Cole walked toward the tree line. He needed air. He needed quiet. He needed to process everything that had happened. He found a boulder at the edge of the forest and sat down. The 2 dogs settled at his feet. Above, stars were emerging through the fading smoke. "You know what Danny used to say?" Cole spoke to the dogs, but really to himself. He used to say that war doesn't end when you leave the battlefield. It ends when you stop fighting yourself. Shadow looked up at him, those dark, intelligent eyes that had seen so much. "I've been fighting myself for a long time, blaming myself, punishing myself, thinking I didn't deserve peace because I couldn't save him." Ranger rested his head on Cole's boot. "But tonight I saved someone. A lot of someone's. Kids who would have been used as drug mules, a mother who would have died in the snow, a little girl who would have grown up without a mom." He paused. Maybe that doesn't make up for Danny. Maybe nothing ever will. But it's something. It's a start. A figure approached through the darkness. Elena. "Mind if I sit? Free country." She settled beside him on the boulder. For a while, neither of them spoke. "What happens to you now?" Cole finally asked. "Corbin offered me a job. Intelligence analysis for the DEA. Apparently my reports were actually useful. They just never reached anyone who could act on them." "You going to take it?" "I don't know. I spent 3 years in these mountains trying to protect them from people who didn't care. Turns out I was fighting the wrong battle." She looked at him. "What about you?" "I came here to find peace. Instead, I found a war. And maybe that's okay. Maybe peace isn't about avoiding conflict. Maybe it's about knowing which conflicts are worth fighting." Elena smiled. "That sounds like wisdom." "That sounds like exhaustion." But he smiled too. "I'm going to rebuild my cabin, fix what's broken, maybe train some dogs if these 2 are any indication. And when the next battle comes," Cole looked at Shadow, at Ranger, at the stars emerging overhead, "then I'll fight. That's what I do. That's who I am." He stood brushing off his pants. "But first I'm going to sleep for about 3 days." Elena laughed. It was a good sound, a healing sound. They walked back toward the compound together. The helicopters were lifting off now, carrying prisoners and evidence toward justice. The mine stood silent, its secrets exposed, its darkness finally pierced by light. Corbin met them at the perimeter. "Harrison, I need to ask you something. I already told you I don't want payment. It's not about payment." Corbin's expression was serious. "What you did tonight, the tactics, the improvisation, the sheer effectiveness, I've never seen anything like it. And I've worked with some of the best operators in the world. What's your point?" "My point is that men like you don't just disappear into the mountains. Men like you find a way to keep making a difference." Corbin handed him a card. "When you're ready, call that number. We could use someone with your skills, off the books, unofficial, the kind of work that needs doing but can't go through official channels." Cole looked at the card. No name, just a phone number. "Think about it," Corbin said. "No pressure, but the offer stands." He walked away, leaving Cole with 2 dogs, a card, and a choice. Shadow whined softly. "I know, boy. I know." Cole tucked the card into his pocket. "But that's a decision for another day." The eastern sky was beginning to lighten. Dawn was coming. A new day. A new beginning. Cole started walking. Away from the mine. away from the chaos, back toward the mountains that had drawn him here in the first place. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if he would ever truly find peace. But he knew one thing for certain. He was done running. Whatever came next, he would face it. With 2 loyal dogs at his side and the memory of a little girl's sleepy wave in his heart. Some battles were worth fighting. Some people were worth saving. And some men were born to be heroes, whether they wanted to be or not. 6 weeks had passed since the night at Coldwater Mine. The snow had finally begun to melt, revealing patches of brown earth and the first stubborn shoots of green. Spring was coming to Pine Valley, and with it a season of reckoning. Cole stood at the window of his rebuilt cabin watching Shadow and Ranger play in the yard. The 2 dogs had become inseparable, the old warrior and the wounded hero, finding in each other a companionship that transcended species and circumstance. The cabin itself was different now. Larger, stronger. Cole had spent the past month rebuilding it with his own hands, and somewhere along the way, he had rebuilt something in himself as well. His phone rang. He checked the screen. Maya. "How's my favorite retired detective?" Maya's laugh came through the line. "Retired is a strong word. I prefer reassigned to full-time motherhood." "How's Lily?" "She had another nightmare last night, but fewer than last week. The therapist says she's making progress." Maya's voice softened. "She asks about you, about Shadow and Ranger. She wants to visit. She's welcome any time. Both of you are. I might take you up on that. Pine Valley is beautiful this time of year." A pause. "Cole. I called for another reason. The trial date has been set." Cole felt his stomach tighten. "When, 3 months from now, federal court in Denver, they want me to testify. They want you to testify too. I'll be there. It's going to be ugly. Kane's lawyers are already attacking the evidence, claiming illegal search and seizure, claiming entrapment. They're going to try to make us look like vigilantes." "Let them try." Cole's voice was hard. "We have the truth. That's all that matters." "Is it enough?" "It has to be." Maya was quiet for a moment. "There's something else. Something I haven't told anyone except Corbin." "What?" "After everything that happened after we got Lily back, I went to see Marsh in custody. I needed to understand. I needed to know why." Cole waited. "He told me things, Cole. Things about the syndicate's reach. It's not just Montana. It's not just Senator Williams. There are people in Washington and state houses across the country who are part of this network. People we've never heard of. People who are still free." "Did you tell the prosecutors?" "I told them everything. But Marsh is scared. He thinks if he testifies against the bigger fish, he's dead. His family is dead. Everyone he's ever known is dead. He should have thought about that before he sold his soul." I know. Maya sighed. "But here's the thing. He has a daughter. She's 14. She had nothing to do with any of this. And now her life is destroyed because her father made choices she couldn't control." Cole thought of Lily, of the fear in her eyes when Kane held that gun to her head. "What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. I guess I just needed to talk about it. The anger is still there, the hatred. But so is this other feeling. This understanding that evil isn't always born. Sometimes it's made. Sometimes good people make terrible choices and become something they never meant to be." "That doesn't excuse what he did." "No, it doesn't. But maybe it explains it, and maybe understanding is the first step toward healing." Cole looked out at Shadow and Ranger, rolling in the grass like puppies. 2 dogs who had seen the worst of humanity and still found joy in a sunny afternoon. "You're a better person than I am, Maya." "No, I'm just a mother. Mothers learn to see the world differently. We have to for our children's sake." They talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. Cole set down the phone and stepped outside. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine and melting snow. He walked to where the dogs were playing and sat down on a log. Shadow immediately came to him, pressing against his leg. Ranger followed. A moment later, his limp almost completely healed now. "You boys have it figured out, don't you?" Cole scratched behind their ears. "No grudges, no regrets, just the next moment, the next meal, the next person to love." Shadow's tail wagged. "Maybe I could learn something from you." A truck appeared on the road leading to his cabin. Cole recognized it immediately. Elena. She pulled up and climbed out carrying a folder and a bottle of wine. "Celebrating something?" Cole asked. "The funding came through." Elena's face was radiant. "The federal grant for the Wildlife Rescue Center. They approved it yesterday. Full funding for 5 years." "That's incredible. Congratulations." "It gets better. They want to name it the Daniel Reeves Wildlife Rehabilitation Center." Cole's breath caught. "I told them about him," Elena said softly. "About what you told me. About the friend you lost and the guilt you've been carrying. Corbin made some calls. Talked to Danny's family." She handed him the folder. "They wanted you to have this." Cole opened it. Inside was a photograph of Danny Reeves in his Navy uniform, smiling that cocky smile Cole remembered so well. And beneath it, a letter. "Read it," Elena said. Cole's hands trembled as he unfolded the paper. "Dear Mr. Harrison," he read aloud. "We received your message through Agent Vance, and we want you to know something that has weighed on our hearts for a long time. Danny spoke of you often in his letters home. He called you the best operator he ever worked with, the best friend he ever had. He said if anything ever happened to him, he wanted you to know that none of it was your fault, that you always did everything you could, that he was proud to serve beside you. We believe our son. We believe in you. And we hope that naming this center after Danny will help you understand what we've known all along. You didn't fail him. You honored him. Every day since, with every life you've saved, with every battle you've fought. Danny is at peace. We hope you can find peace too. With love, Robert and Margaret Reeves." Cole couldn't speak. The words blurred through tears he hadn't known he was crying. Elena sat beside him and put her hand on his arm. "They meant every word. I didn't deserve this. You deserve exactly this, and so much more." She squeezed his arm. "Danny would be proud of what you did at that mine. He would be proud of the man you've become." Cole wiped his eyes. Shadow pushed his nose against Cole's hand, sensing his pain, offering comfort. "I've been carrying him for so long," Cole said quietly. "The weight of him, the guilt. I didn't know how to put it down." "You don't have to put him down. You just have to carry him differently. Not as a burden, as a blessing, as a reminder of what you're capable of when it matters most." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun climb higher in the sky. The dogs settled at their feet, content and peaceful. Finally, Elena spoke again. "There's something else. Something I've been wanting to ask you." "Ask." "The rescue center is going to need help. Volunteers, staff, people who know how to work with animals, how to handle crisis situations." She met his eyes. "I was thinking maybe you might want to be part of it." "Me? Working at a wildlife center. You're already rehabilitating 2 dogs, and from what I can see, you're pretty good at it." She smiled. "Besides, it would give you a reason to stay in Pine Valley, a reason to be part of something again." Cole looked at Shadow and Ranger. He thought about the card Corbin had given him still sitting in his pocket. 2 paths. 2 possible futures. "I'll think about it," he said. "That's all I'm asking." Elena stood and brushed off her jeans. "I should go. Lots of paperwork to file for the grant. But I meant what I said. The center opens in 3 months. You're welcome any time." She drove away, leaving Cole alone with his dogs and his thoughts. He read Danny's parents' letter again, then a 3rd time. Each reading loosened something in his chest. Each word was a key unlocking a door he had kept sealed for too long. "I'm sorry, Danny," he whispered. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you, but I'm not sorry for trying, and I'm not sorry for surviving." Shadow looked up at him with those wise, ancient eyes. "Yeah," Cole said. "I think I'm going to be okay." 2 weeks later, Cole made a trip he had been avoiding for 14 months. The military cemetery was quiet and green rows of white headstones stretching toward the horizon. Cole walked slowly, Ranger and Shadow at his heels, until he found the marker he was looking for. Daniel James Reeves, Petty Officer 1st Class, United States Navy, beloved son, loyal friend, hero. Cole knelt in front of the stone. "Hey, brother." The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere a bird was singing. "I should have come sooner. I know that. I just couldn't face it. Couldn't face you." Cole's voice broke. "I left you there, Danny. I told myself it was the right call, but it wasn't. It was fear. I was afraid I'd die too, and I let that fear make the choice for me." Shadow pressed against his side. Ranger lay down beside the headstone as if guarding a fallen warrior. "But I've been thinking about what you said. What you always said. Fear is just excitement without breath. You were never afraid, were you? Not really. You just breathed through it and kept moving." Cole wiped his eyes. "I met some people, Danny. Good people. A detective who was willing to die to protect her daughter. A little girl who was braver than most soldiers I know. A ranger who refused to look away from evil even when everyone told her to mind her own business. And these dogs," and he laughed softly. "You would have loved these dogs." He placed his hand on the cool stone. "I'm not going to let you down again. I don't know exactly what that means yet. Maybe it means going back into the fight. Maybe it means building something new. But whatever it is, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to honor you every day for the rest of my life." He stood and snapped to attention. A perfect military salute. "Rest easy, brother. I've got the watch." He held the salute for a long moment, then lowered his hand. The weight he had carried for so long felt lighter. Not gone, but transformed. A burden becoming a blessing, just like Elena had said. "Come on, boys. Let's go home." The 3 of them walked back through the cemetery, past rows of heroes, past lives given in service of something greater than themselves. Cole felt their presence around him, their sacrifice, their courage. He was part of something larger than himself. He always had been. The drive back to Pine Valley took several hours. Cole used the time to think, to plan, to imagine what came next. When he arrived at his cabin, there was a car in the driveway. 2 figures sat on his porch. Maya and Lily. "Surprise," Maya said, standing up as he approached. "You came." Lily couldn't wait any longer. Maya smiled at her daughter, who was already running toward the dogs. "She's been talking about Shadow and Ranger for weeks." Lily threw her arms around Ranger's neck. The big shepherd stood perfectly still, allowing the little girl to hug him, his tail wagging slowly. "He remembers me," Lily said, looking up at Cole with shining eyes. "Of course he does. You're pretty unforgettable." Shadow approached next, more cautiously. Lily extended her hand, and the old Belgian Malinois sniffed it carefully before giving her a gentle lick. He likes me too. He's got good taste. Maya walked over to Cole, leaving Lily to play with the dogs. I hope you don't mind us just showing up. I told you you're welcome any time. I know, but I had another reason for coming. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. This arrived at my brother's office yesterday. It's addressed to you. Cole took the envelope. No return address. Just his name handwritten in elegant script. He opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photograph. The photograph showed a building under construction, a sign out front reading, Daniel Reeves Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. The letter was brief. Mr. Harrison, the center opens in 60 days. The director position is yours if you want it. Elena vouches for you. So do I. Sometimes the best way to honor the dead is to help the living. Think about it. CV. Corbin Vance. The offer he had made that night at the mine. What does it say? Maya asked. Cole handed her the letter. She read it and looked up at him with surprised eyes. Director of the rescue center. That's a big job. I know. Are you going to take it? Cole looked at Lily, laughing, as Shadow and Ranger chased each other around the yard. He thought about Danny, about the promise he had made at that gravestone, about all the lives he had saved and all the lives he hadn't. I think I might, he said slowly. Not instead of the other work, not as an escape from the fight, but as part of it. A different kind of fighting, building something instead of tearing it down. Maya smiled. I think Danny would approve. Yeah, I think he would. They stood together watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of gold and purple. Lily's laughter echoed across the valley. The dogs barked and played, and somewhere in the distance a bird sang its evening song. Cole, Maya said softly. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. For saving us that night in the storm. For not giving up when everyone else would have. For being exactly this person we needed exactly when we needed you. I was just in the right place at the right time. No. She shook her head. You were exactly who you were supposed to be. A hero. Whether you wanted to be or not. Cole thought about that word. Hero. He had never felt like one. He had felt like a failure, a survivor, a man haunted by the ghosts of his choices. But maybe Maya was right. Maybe heroism wasn't about feeling brave. Maybe it was about acting brave even when you were terrified. Maybe it was about showing up even when you wanted to run. Maybe it was about fighting even when you had already lost. I'm not a hero, he said finally. I'm just a man who got a second chance. And I'm trying not to waste it. That's exactly what a hero would say. Lily came running over, breathless and happy. Mommy, Mr. Cole, can we stay for dinner? Please, Shadow wants to show me where he sleeps. Maya looked at Cole. He nodded. We'd love to stay, Maya said. That night they ate together around Cole's small table. Simple food, good conversation, easy laughter. Lily fell asleep on the couch with both dogs curled around her, a protective circle of fur and loyalty. Maya and Cole sat on the porch, watching the stars emerge. The trial is going to be hard, Maya said, reliving everything, facing Kane and Marsh in that courtroom. We'll get through it. How do you know? Because we got through everything else. Cole turned to look at her. And because whatever happens, we won't face it alone. That's what I learned from all this. The worst enemy isn't out there. It's in here. He tapped his chest. Isolation. Guilt. The belief that you have to carry everything by yourself. That's what destroys people. Not the battles they fight, but the battles they fight alone. Maya nodded slowly. I used to think being strong meant not needing anyone. Me too. Turns out strength is knowing when to ask for help. And accepting it when it comes. That too. They sat in comfortable silence, two survivors learning to live again. 3 months later, Cole stood at the entrance of the Daniel Reeves Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was about to begin. News cameras lined the perimeter. Dignitaries filled the folding chairs. Elena stood beside him, nervous and radiant. I can't believe this is actually happening. Believe it. You made it happen. We made it happen. All of us. Corbin Vance was there in a suit instead of tactical gear, looking almost uncomfortable. Maya stood with Lily, both of them beaming. And in the front row, Robert and Margaret Reeves, Danny's parents, holding hands. Cole walked to the microphone. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady. My name is Cole Harrison. Most of you know me as a former Navy SEAL. Some of you know me as the man who helped bring down the Mountain Syndicate. But today, I want to talk about someone else. Someone whose name is on this building. My friend. My brother. Petty Officer Daniel James Reeves. He looked at Danny's parents. They nodded, tears in their eyes. Danny believed that every life had value. Human, animal, it didn't matter. He believed that the strong had a duty to protect the weak. And he believed that the true measure of a person wasn't how they lived, but how they lifted others up. Cole paused, gathering himself. I spent a long time thinking I had failed him, that I didn't deserve to carry his memory. But I've learned something in the past few months, something that changed everything. He looked out at the crowd, at Maya and Lily, at Elena, at the two dogs sitting patiently at the edge of the ceremony. We honor the dead not by dwelling on our failures, but by fighting for the future they believed in. Every animal that walks through these doors, every life we save, every wound we heal, will be a testament to Danny's spirit, his kindness, his courage, his unshakable belief in the goodness of this world. Cole's voice strengthened. This center isn't just a building. It's a promise that we will never stop fighting, never stop caring, never stop believing that one person can make a difference. He stepped back from the microphone and picked up the ceremonial scissors. Danny, this one's for you. He cut the ribbon. The crowd applauded, and somewhere in the clear blue sky, Cole could have sworn he heard his friend laughing. After the ceremony, Cole stood alone at the edge of the property. Shadow and Ranger lay at his feet. The celebration continued behind him, but he needed a moment of quiet. A hand touched his shoulder. He turned. Margaret Reeves. Danny's mother stood there with tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for honoring my son. Cole embraced her gently. He was the best of us. I'm just trying to live up to his example. You already have. She pulled back and looked at him with a mother's fierce love. You already have, Cole, and he knows it. Wherever he is, he knows. She walked away, leaving Cole with the weight of her words. Lily ran up to him, Shadow and Ranger following at her heels. Mr. Cole, can I help feed the animals? Elena said I could, if you said yes. Cole looked down at the little girl who had been through so much and still found joy in every moment. Of course you can. Yay. She grabbed his hand. Come on. The baby deer is waiting. She pulled him toward the center, chattering excitedly about all the animals she was going to help save. Shadow and Ranger trotted alongside, tails wagging, eyes bright. Cole looked back once at the mountains that had nearly killed him, that had tested him, that had ultimately healed him. He thought of Danny, of Maya, of Elena, of all the lives that had intersected with his on this impossible journey. He had come to these mountains seeking peace. He had found something better. He had found purpose. He had found family. He had found the strength to forgive himself and the courage to keep fighting. The war would never truly end. There would always be battles to fight wrongs, to right people to save. But Cole Harrison was ready now, ready to face whatever came next. Because heroes are not born in moments of comfort. They are forged in fire and tempered by loss. They rise not because they are fearless, but because they refuse to let fear win. And sometimes on the darkest nights, in the coldest storms, they find each other. A soldier seeking redemption. A mother fighting for her child. A scientist protecting her mountains. Two dogs who never gave up. Together, they had faced the impossible. Together, they had won. And together, they would build something that would last long after they were gone. A legacy of courage. A testament to love. A promise that no matter how dark the night dawn always comes. If this story of courage, sacrifice, and redemption touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear that heroes still exist. Type Amen in the comments if you believe that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us what it means to be human. And remember, no matter what storms you face, no matter what darkness surrounds you, there is always hope. There is always light. There is always someone willing to fight for you. You just have to hold on until they find you.